Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 20th of March, 2025, live on YouTube. Here it is, guys. We're ready for a busy show. Racing's back. Politics is all up in the air. We've got a lot of news to talk about. I'm John Belay, party supporter Zach Jamfran. All the news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, we're going to start with the motorsport action. I want to start with F1 because I have to say, this has been the most hyped I've been all week to see racing back. And it came back on, funny enough, on Sunday. My birthday was qualifying where there was chaos everywhere. And there was also a 1-2 for McLaren. And Lando Norris won and got maximum points for his first race. By the way, they have scrapped the fastest lap this year, so there's only 25 points instead of 26 for the winner. And there was chaos galore, safety cars, no red flags, funny enough, but the rookies were playing roulette with each other and several of them spinning off during the wet, dry, wet race. And in the end, Norris picked up the pieces and won that race. And Zach, all the Brits who woke up at 4 a.m. last week to watch the race finally see the Papaya team win.
Yeah, me too. You can include me in that list as well, definitely. But yeah, it was great to see F1 back last week. I've been looking forward to it. I think they've called it the most unpredictable season yet. I think, well, it started out how it finished last year with a McLaren victory. Lando Norris winning ahead of Max Verstappen, but only just, I have to say, as well. It was very, very close. And given the circumstances, Max had performed well in that Red Bull, second position, but Lando Norris managed to win that from mostly start to finish. Obviously, didn't lead the occasional lap there and here and there. Now, but that doesn't matter because, yeah, he was well ahead. And he just about managed to keep it on the circuit. I mean, there was at times where he went off a couple of times. The wet weather was something to behold. But yeah, that was the result. You can see there he won pretty convincingly. Verstappen was second, not far behind actually. He had a really good run, Verstappen, at the end of the race, but just didn't make it towards it as well. Because of the incidents on track and all the chaos that happened, the beneficiary of that was George Russell in third. Now he might have a more sleepier race. Mercedes did look slightly promising across the two practice sessions and then underwhelmed the Saturday and Sunday. George Russell, though, managed to make the most of it in third position ahead of Kimi Antonelli, who started, if I remember rightly, 17th, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he was knocked out in Q1 apparently as well.
Yeah, he started 17th, knocked out in Q1. The weather change and Kimi Antonelli, the very best of rookies on that grid, and no wonder why the hype was so much behind him. Fourth position. He finished fourth, then got demoted for fifth for a while because of a penalty, then got reinstated back to fourth position because they won a right of review. This is over the fact I think there was an impediment. I think it was Bortoleto in the pit lane as well during one of the safety car periods. So he got a 5-second penalty, then got demoted to fifth, but then got to fourth. But let's not take away how well Alex Albon did on that Williams. That Williams has looked very quick all weekend, and surprisingly quick as well. They've actually shown their true pace, and they're actually now up in the proper midfield, which is really good to see. Alex Albon, a stunning result of fifth position. Lance Stroll, decent result actually for Aston Martin, sixth position. I think he take away some good result from that. Nico Hulkenberg finished seventh position, and actually has scored more points this weekend than the entire 2024 for Kik Sauber. That, I mean, seventh position overall. That's a little bit of
green
progress.
wheelie bin.
That's progress. Let's just admit that overall, that is progress. The same can't be said for Ferrari though. 8th and 10th, they were very much a letdown this weekend. The car wasn't performing very well. Leclerc had a very memeable team radio saying that he had water in his car. And yeah, I can't remember the whole quote, but it was very funny. Lewis Hamilton had the back and forth between his new race engineer. You're going to have to take a little bit of time between gelling that as well. Oscar Piastri was just very unlucky. The most unluckiest Australian you could ever think of. I mean, the curse of the Aussies in Australia is something to behold. He was second all the race. Looked like he was going to hit a 1-2. And then the rain came at the worst possible time after all in dry cars. Lando went off. Oscar went off. And unfortunately, Oscar was the one that actually got beached for a long period of time. So ninth position is a very lucky escape for him, given the fact he was beached. He's nearly out of the race and something like that as well. Yeah, very, very unlucky. We went over Hamilton, finished 10th. He did manage to get a point on his Ferrari debut. And then behind him was Gasly 11th, Snowden 12th, Ocon in 13th, Oliver Behrman, the last surviving rookie, as well on in the field, 40 seconds behind, but actually managed to finish. Unlike the others, Liam Lawson crashed out behind the safety car. Gabriel Bortoleto also got caught out in aquaplaning incidents as well. Fernando Alonso also involved in incidents. Carlos Sainz, again, unlucky for him, also involved in incidents behind the safety car. Whilst Jack Doohan didn't make it through much corners, and Isaac Hadjar didn't even make the start of the race as well, crashing under the formation lap. Fair play to Anthony Hamilton, who consolidated Isaac Hadjar after the race. Although I have to say, Dr. Helmut Marko wasn't so kind. So in some of his comments as well. Basically, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well,
Dr.
Helmut Marko is a dinosaur, really. Harsh. It's very harsh, and it was unnecessary from Helmut Marko. I think Isaac Hadjar is a very passionate, very emotional man. And it's his first race, and he didn't make the start, and you can understandably why he got upset. But some of the comments of Helmut Marko is just ridiculous and unnecessary, and he should be supporting his drivers and not demeaning them as well. So yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, there's the champion standings are as the race results. We won't go into that as well. But this weekend we got another race. It's China and it's a sprint weekend. So let me go through over the timings of this one. Sprint qualifying is tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning. Then it's the most brutal Saturday of the year for a person in the United Kingdom, have to say as well, because the sprint race is at 3:00 in the morning. Qualifying for the actual race itself is at 7, and then the race itself on the Sunday is at 7. So if you exclude the sprint, it's slightly better times overall. But then then you do have to include the sprint, which is a nauseating 3 a.m. in the morning. Something that I am going to try and attempt to do, which I did actually do last year. I did sprint and watch the sprint race and qualify on the same Saturday morning, and trust me, it was very brutal. And this year is going to be even more brutal, due to the fact it's an hour earlier this year, the sprint, than it was last year. It's going to be a very, very awful.
Wow, honestly, I'm going to be like, I said this on one of my streams the other day. I said, if you got watching the F1, be prepared. By the way, I was stuck in traffic at the weekend, and I thought, I might as well stay up and watch the F1 because it's nearly 4 a.m. Honestly, I was beached on the A13 for ages. I thought, it's going to get late. I'm going to get home. Maybe F1 will come on. I was home just before 2 hours before FP1 was on. Or actually 2 hours before FP3 was. I was like, wow, qualifying's coming on very soon, or the race is coming on. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to have to stay up and watch it. No, I've got to go to bed. But yeah, these early timings do make people want to get up and watch it. So anyway, but that's all the gloss over the fact there. I mean, qualifying for me, McLaren looked clearly the quickest car, I think. I don't think Verstappen was quick in the dry. But in the rain, he's a very, very good striker. He's a very confident driver in the rain. He's very skilled and, can master the changeable conditions very well. As Lando done that all very well last weekend. Obviously, we got the race this weekend. Obviously, you can watch across F1 platforms and Sky F1. Also, as well, guys, before we move on to the next part and do the next update, my tributes tonight, all of the world of motorsport tonight and the world of Formula One are sadly lost Eddie Jordan at the age of 76 tonight. as well. Just want to confirm that was a death due to cancer, unfortunately. It was former prostate cancer, from what I've heard. He'd been battling it for a while. Zach, what's your thoughts for Eddie Jordan?
Yeah, wonderful, lovely, and incredibly just hilariously fantastic individual. He's not only he's a bit of an entrepreneur. He's run a team. He's brought up some of those best upcoming drivers. We know Michael Schumacher was one of them. Martin Brundle used to drive for that team as well. There's just a fantastic individual. He also was a bit of a stirrer in the paddock as well. He broke some news about some exclusives like Lewis Hamilton to Mercedes at the time, and yeah, he had very forthright opinions. He was very challenging of individuals. He was a pundit. He was a very fun individual, just overall. Great man, great personality for the paddock, and he'll be thoroughly missed as well. So yeah, rest in peace, Eddie Jordan. We'll be missing you very much indeed.
He was Irish as well. Another Irish. It was an Irish guy. An Irish broadcast. Not just an Irish broadcast, but team principal years ago. Jordan. Michael Schumacher helped Michael Schumacher win his first ever world championship in 1994 and 90. Not 1994, but it helped Michael Schumacher get into F1 actually because he was with Benetton then. But yeah, no, he's driven for Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Giancarlo Fisichella, a couple of other drivers that have driven for Jordan. So many drivers have, it's a team that certainly had Damon Hill as well, Ralf Schumacher. So many drivers I can name that drove with Jordan during the late 1990s and even the early 2000s as well. So, yeah, rest in peace, Eddie Jordan. It's a horrible loss, and I'm sure the world of motorsport will think about you for a long time to come. Next race, Chinese Grand Prix this Sunday. Moving on now to... We're going to go on to do the football news now, because obviously this weekend is the international breaks. There's not really much in the way of, big football matches. England are playing, I think, tomorrow. But obviously, we did have the Premier League. We did also have the Carabao Cup last week. The final took place at Wembley. Congratulations to the Geordies. Anton Deck's team, Newcastle, won last week, 2-1 against Liverpool. By the way, Anton Deck certainly were having fun in Wembley stands the other week, jumping for joy as Newcastle won their first trophy in a long, long time. I bet the Geordies were certainly celebrating there as well. Alan Shearer, another one. But yeah, Premier League also was on. And Zach, I have to say, obviously the Carabao Cup, the main event, Newcastle getting a 2-1 victory over Liverpool. And yes, Anton Deck certainly were very... elated after that one.
Yeah. First of all, the most important thing to point out here is that Newcastle won their first trophy in 70 years, and that's just incredible. It's also the first time, I think, since 2008. I think it is. I must go back a couple of years as well, that an English manager has won a domestic trophy here as well. I think it tells you something that. We've struggled with the quality of managers out in England here as well. But Eddie Howe can be commended for what was Newcastle and just an incredible victory overall for them. They've kind of looked under the spotlight for years as well, but they've never actually been able to shine in a proper final. I mean, yeah, they did get to the final 2 years ago in quite comfortable fashion. This year, though, they actually made it easy against a top flight team that underperformed on the day. And I just have to say, well done to Newcastle. That was absolute brilliant stuff there. It was probably the longest night in Newcastle history, if you were a Geordie, and the most night that probably alcohol was consumed overall. So there's going to be an open top bus party, I believe, as well, coming up soon. I can't remember if it's this Saturday, not this Saturday, but I think it's about a week's time as well. So yeah, brilliant job by Newcastle, and the effort that Eddie Howe's done to that team is commendable, and really he really deserves to be remembered for a while. And then we had the Premier League weekend as well. We should mention, well, as well as the Carabao Cup, we had a Premier League weekend of action. And just going through the results here, the David Moyes reunion with Everton and West Ham ended all square. Wolves beat Southampton 2-1. That is a really crucial victory for Wolves because that means it's now 8 points above the relegation zone for Wolves. And the others lingering behind as well. Nottingham Forest, a 4-2 victory over Ipswich as well. City and Brighton, that's another crucial result for City because that's another draw for them rather than a victory in that measure. But Brentford beat Bournemouth in a really very high-heeled match as well. And then the 3 Sunday matches, Arsenal-Chelsea was the big Premier League match of the weekend, with Arsenal coming out on top and 1-0 in an uneventful match. Fulham took the Spurs out of Tottenham Hotspur with a 2-0 victory over them. And then the last match of the weekend was Leicester City v Manchester United as well. And it resulted in a very big 3-0 victory over Leicester City. I would not be surprised to see relegated wrapped up a bit soon, but not totally soon. Given some of the results over the weekend as well. And now there's an 8-point gap, so there's about 3 games in it to be able to get out there. But still, the time and finish for the relegation threatened teams is coming, I think. So for Leicester, for Ipswich, and for Southampton, soon. I suspect with the current results, it's tally ho for them as well. And it's also an unwelcome record for Leicester City. I think it's last 7 matches they've lost. No goals in those 7 losses as well. So yeah, that is really telling of that team, how the performance is at the moment. I'm not going to worry about the upcoming Premier League fixture because we're actually we're actually a little bit further away from that. But I will say they're all midweek fixtures as well. So I won't get onto that right now because that's for April time. But if I may, is that it is International Football weekend as well. So let me just go over some of the stuff that is coming up for you as well. There have been Nations League matches today. I'm just looking through the results. Some of these are quarterfinals, I think, or semi-finals as well. The Nations League runs this really wild group where you got some playoffs. And then you got some quarterfinals going on as well. So I think the ones today, some of them today have been quarterfinals or semi-finals. I can't remember which one. Oh no, today. So today, some of them have been quarterfinals. So let me go through some of the quarterfinal ones. So Netherlands and Spain. This is the 2-legged, by the way. It's 2-2. Finished 2-2 against that one. That's going to be so much interesting to that one because there's red card in that one. Croatia 2-0 against France. Surprising to some, I have to say. Denmark beating Portugal, that's very surprising, and Germany beating Italy. So Denmark beating Portugal is a big surprise there as well. But that's the first of 2 legs. We're not going to see them in action, I believe, until next week as well. Let me just get it up here as well, if I'm correct in saying that we're not going to see them until next week. Yeah, so they're playing Sunday next week as well, the quarterfinalists. It's just the reverse way round. But there's been other fixtures today in the playoffs wise as well, and to get promoted or relegated. And Ireland won against Bulgaria, the Republic of Ireland, that should mention as well. Scotland have won against Greece. These are games that just finished, by the way, as well, I should mention. So that's a crucial result in terms of getting promotion and relegation. Ukraine, a big victory over Belgium in that sense as well. And just looking at results, it's Austria, Serbia 1-1 as well. And there's some other one. Kosovo beat Iceland. That's a really surprising one as well. Whilst Georgia beat Armenia. So some really surprising results, I have to say, in the Nations League overall. But just going back to what we've got coming up this weekend as well. We've also got World Cup 2026 qualifiers as well. This weekend involving other teams. So England against Albania is tomorrow at 7:45. This is Thomas Tuchel's first match as England manager as well. And I believe Northern Ireland have a friendly. They're taking no part in any competition. They do have a friendly fixture against Switzerland tomorrow at home. That's at 7:45 as well. On Saturday, Wales are at home for their first World Cup qualifier against Kazakhstan as well. And hopefully Craig Bellamy's team can continue their good form under his management at the moment. And then on Monday, against the same way round England against Latvia as well on Monday. And then on Tuesday, it is Wales. Wales are actually away against North Macedonia on that one as well. And then we've got the switch, the second wave fixtures for the Nation League playoff rounds and quarterfinals as well ahead of the semi-finals in June. I think, or was it June? Yeah, it is June. Those matches as well. So yeah, that's this weekend coming up as well. It is the international fixtures.
That's all the international football. Now it's time to move on and do the Premier League darts. I haven't done this for a while, so I thought I'd come on to this. Last week, Gerwyn Price beat Luke Littler. However, though, this week it looks like it's going to be an interesting display of darts at the moment. With Chris Dobey losing, unfortunately, 5-1 against Michael van Gerwen. If I go on to that now, according to this, Michael van Gerwen is literally, according to this, probably about to wrap it up.
He's probably just about to wrap it up, but let's just see. So he's 5-1 up at the moment. Let's just watch if Chris Dobey can make it 5-2. No, he's missed the double to 20 actually. But this has not been a greatest of rounds so far in terms of getting a shot on. Van Gerwen's got to hit double 2 here. He's hit double 1, so Van Gerwen is through to the final of this week's Premier League of darts. He's either going to meet he's either going to meet Luke Littler or Rob Cross in the semi-final as well. It's taking place in Cardiff this week. Rob Cross had a brilliant match against Gerwyn Price, the home favourite, where Rob Cross managed to hit the big fish to get through to the semi-final against Luke Littler as well. Luke Littler faced Nathan Aspinall in his quarter-final as well. And yeah, that was a bit more closer match than I was expecting, but still Luke Littler won by quite a while. But yeah, it is Luke Littler v Rob Cross next, coming up in the second semi-final. And the winner will face Michael van Gerwen, who hasn't been quite past the final, this semi-final in the Premier League of Darts this year. So this is a good opportunity for him to finally get a victory as well. It's been 2 wins each for Littler, Humphreys and Gerwyn Price. We may be about to get a different one this time round, hopefully. Who knows? But yeah, next up is Luke Littler against Rob Cross, and Michael van Gerwen is through to the final of tonight.
Yeah, certainly looking interesting, isn't it, for Michael van Gerwen and Luke? This is always a big matchup, these two, Littler and van Gerwen. Who do you think's going to win that? That will be an interesting choice, I think, certainly to keep an eye on there. As well, moving on now to the next part of the show, we're going to be talking about, we're going to start off, Zach, with the heroes and villain, actually the plank of the week this week. I have to say, do you know who I'm going to give it to this week? I am going
who are you going to give it to?
Ladies and gentlemen, the plank of the week for me goes to Nigel Farage. I have to give it to I'm being serious here. And Zia,
we did it last week.
I have to say, okay, it has been a very shambolic week for Reform again. Not just about Rupert Lowe, okay? Not just about what they've done to him, but also as well, the fact this week that Reform have welcomed in 29 new councillors, some of which have come from the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats. And they claim that they're going to move to the centre of British politics, the centre-right. Now, I suppose this is a strategy maybe to get more votes, to try and distinguish himself from the Conservatives, but it seems like Reform are... And I have to say as well that the fact that Nigel Farage claims that the people being racist to Zia Youssef, that's an interesting question on the racism. I do condemn racism. I completely understand that, but it's, it didn't go down well with the new members from Reform. According to this, the 29 new councillors who defected to the party included people like, and I'm going to read you out here some of the names. Apparently, a majority, 66, were originally elected Conservative, some were Liberal Democrat. Also, in recent weeks, Rupert Lowe also, he said that the suspension of Rupert Lowe caused concentration, adding any argument seemed to happen, a family does, I promise you it's upset. On Sunday, Maria Bothwell, a councillor of East Reading, Yorkshire Council, quit the party. She accused the leadership of lack of integrity and resolved treatment of Rupert Lowe as well. That was another one that also had as well. There was also as well another comment that was made saying on here, and I quote this now, there was also a comment mentioned about a candidate who apparently used a description of Hitler on this as well. I'm just trying to get it up right now for you. Oh, here we go. Following Monday's press conference, Farage was questioned about reports that in 2022, his head of party vetting, Jack Aaron, has said Adolf Hitler was brilliant and inspiring people into action. Aaron said, yes, he was a brilliant leader and he was utter evil. How controversial is that to say? Jack Aaron is another member. I'd have to get the full list up because I can't find it at the moment. But imagine your candidate saying that when you're being interviewed, and then there was another comment that mentioned about police officers. I mean, what do you make to this? This is interesting.
Well, first of all, on the Farage stuff, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that there's been defections to reform. There's plenty of Tory councillors who have turned very right wing. There's some Labour ones as well. But what I'm really surprised about is a Liberal Democrat councillor going to reform. Like, how does that happen? I don't really understand. I don't. How does that happen? How do you go from a Liberal Democrat to go to be Farage's best buddy? Makes no sense. But I'll tell you what I am a bit irritated about is, again, reform appointing basically someone who has basically sympathetic to Vladimir Putin and was one that seemed to embrace Hitler as their person who as their person who's leading the vetting process. I mean, it's actually extraordinary. I just think that's incredible, and given the fact that reform's vetting process is completely diabolical as it is, by Simon selecting candidates that say loads of really wild things, and Hitler loved them as well. No wonder why their process is quite a mess in some ways, but that's been like that for a long time. But yeah, I have to say that Farage is trying to move on for the Rupert Lowe thing. There has been some new stuff from the BBC tonight, which I'm going to try and find here because I think from Laura, there was stuff that came out from Laura Kuenssberg tonight, and it revealed leaked WhatsApp messages where Nigel Farage calls the behaviour of suspended Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe disgusting and contemptible. In private WhatsApp messages being seen by the BBC as well. Let me just go through read out some of these messages. Why on earth wouldn't they let the KC finish? This is from a source. Why on earth wouldn't they let the KC finish her investigation? She's horrified and pleading with you. This is bloody whatever madness because he's damaging the party just before elections. Disgusting, said Farage. The source said, right, so it's not about the investigation. And then, of course, it is. So why not let it finish before going public? But Farage responded on the private WhatsApp. But beyond that, he's contemptible. Thousands of people working hard for May the 1st. The Casey inquiry was the right thing to do, no question. Reputation of the party must be protected. So yeah, that's not great. This is how Nigel Farage is feeling behind the scenes. And there's an element of maybe we did take action after that interview element in it as well. So yeah, I have to say yeah, he's made things quite known now, briefing to BBC sources and activists about what he really does feel about Rupert Lowe.
Yeah, not ideal. I don't know. It's a nomination. Sorry, guys. I'm going to upset and Zach. I have to say as well. Okay. I'm going to play you this clip. Now, I don't usually agree with Keir Starmer on this, but I have to say, Lee
He's
Anderson asked for
converted
a question
people.
about Brexit, only for Sir Keir Starmer to come back with this rather interesting tagline about Reform UK, which I want to play for you right now, which certainly got interested on the media.
Prime Minister can't even lead a party that's fixed in the back of a taxi. I come to this chamber, Mr. Speaker, every week to ask sensible questions. And I expect sensible answers. But all I get is glazed expressions and waffle and from the opposite benches.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Prime Minister a very simple question. On behalf of all the net zero skeptics, if we became net zero tomorrow, by how much would it reduce the Earth's temperature by? Simple question. Net zero is of course not easy, but it's a huge opportunity to boost our growth, our jobs, and our economy. And so he knows my views on that. But you know, he complains that I have better ideas if they stop fawning over Putin. And I understand. The member for Clacton wants to be Prime Minister. He can't even lead a party that's fixed in the back of a taxi. The member for Clacton wants to be Prime Minister. He can't even lead a party that's fixed in the back of a taxi.
Well, Zach, what do you make to that quote by the Prime Minister then?
Fantastic. Yeah, he's absolutely right, to be fair here. They can barely manage four MPs. If they can't manage 4, how are they going to manage 100 or 150 in the future? I think it's very legitimate.
Yeah, no. It was something the party created anyway, so that's all I can say on that. Anyway, Zach, what's your plank of the week this week?
Well, I don't think it's. I'm not going to give it to Reform this week, because I don't think it's that's the case. Who I'm going to give my plank of the week to? Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to be funny for once. This is a really funny one, and I have to say, I'm going to give it to right. I'm going to give it to Jenny, the blind dog. Now, if you wonder who Jenny is, and if you wonder who Jenny is, the blind dog, and as well, he is the or the guide dog. He is the guide dog for the one of the Lib Dem Democrats MP, Steve Darlings. I know it's weird me giving a dog a plank of the week, but the dog was being unlike the dog was being unnaturally naughty this week, because he decided to go across the aisle for the matter of a few minutes and decided to be petted by Labour MPs. Disgraceful, naughty doggy behaviour as well. So Jenny got a 10 off this morning in the Lib Dems whip office by their chief whip Wendy Chamberlain. Yeah, plank of the week this week, it goes to a dog because I can't think of anything better. Jenny the guide dog for Liberal Democrat MP Steve Darling for accidentally and very naughtily going across the other, very temporarily deflecting to the other side of the government aisle. Naughty Jenny, naughty Jenny.
Was that cat called Larry that used to be in Parliament, or it used to be at the house of Downing Street years
Still
ago?
is.
It's like that. You get a dog and a guide dog and a cat. Oh, interesting. Called Larry. He used to live in number 10. So, anyway, moving on now to the next bit of the show. Zach, let's talk about benefits. There was a debate the other day on PIP, which was certainly an interesting discussion.
So yeah, this is quite a very sensitive issue for some people, and actually a lot of the briefing this week has been very overblown. I have to say, some of the briefing was pretty bad, and I have to say that no wonder why there's been some sort of U-turn in some of the measures that were previously suggested, but are now not going ahead. But let me just tell you what's happening. We have a ballooning benefits costs, as we know. So the government have decided now is the time that because of the rise people service the rise in benefits and because of the cost of the amount of rising benefits. I mean, out of the welfare budget, it costs, I don't know, 60, 50, 10 billion, 50 billion, something like that, even more every single year. It is wasting taxpayers' money, according to a lot of people. So the benefit system is going to be changed a little bit. First of all, let's get through some of the measures. So there's some good measures in here. First of all, there is a right to work, let's just say, system in place for those on benefits who are disabled. That's going to be introduced. So at the moment, if you're on benefits at the moment, or they call it the right to try. If you're on benefits at the moment, and you get a job, you lose those benefits straight away. And the problem I think the system has at the moment is that if you get put into a bad job and you obviously lose your benefits straight away, you can't claim those benefits back. And it's, for a lot of people, it means that they struggle. They really do struggle, and it really does affect them financially. So the government are going to introduce this right to try, where if you claim sort of like universal credit, or you're disabled and you are on benefits, but you are going to go, you are, going to get a job, rather than taking those benefits away straight away, then you get to keep them. If you, for whatever reason, lose your role because you are unable to do it, then they're not going to take your benefits straight away this time. They're going to help you try and get back into more suitable work, or find a way to actually, use the benefits to actually find, get different kinds of training and everything like that as well. So that's one good benefit, one good thing about this welfare reform. Then there's others as well, which are much more controversial. So the universal credit thing, where people claim universal credit, if you are in a role and you claim universal credit, now just remember, people who actually do work still claim universal credit. If you claim universal credit and you're working, your amount that you're going to get from universal credit is now going to increase, which is good as well. However, if you are incapable of working and you are the most vulnerable, your universal credit is going to be down a little bit as well, which I have to say caused a lot of concern for Labour MPs, and I understandably so. But that's one part of the change. The other part of the controversial change involves what they call the personal independent payment side of things. This is not related to work, but this is so you do your basic functions such as getting clothes on, taking a shower, using the toilet, helping with your food, how you use your transport, whether you can drive, whether you can get on a bus and everything like that as well. That's been reformed slightly. So the briefings out last week was that they were going to freeze the amount people can claim on PIP in terms of amount paid. And that was very controversial, what was being briefed out. And it was Labour MPs were furious behind the scenes. And the fact that was going to be a plan, I have to say, I really do not like myself. So, yeah, that's not, thankfully, the freeze in PIP is not going ahead. In fact, it will still rise in line with inflation. However, they are changing the thresholds so that it's going to be harder to gain. You now need 4 points on one singular bit of the assessment. So that means that if you get below 4 points in one bit, you will lose that element of PIP as well now. That's going to affect about 1 million people. This is aimed about, I think, those who are claiming mental health as the reason as well. They're looking to get away from the mental health side of ways and more to the sort of the physical side of things as well. So yeah, that's a controversial change. Labour MPs, whilst relieved they're not going to get concerned about the PIP, freezing the PIP, it looks like there's still a number of concerns as well about the freeze, the actual change in the PIP eligibility, and Labour MPs are still upset. This is going to go to a vote in Parliament, I believe, as well. The good news is that the change is not coming straight away. It's actually not going to come in until November, some of the changes, until next year, I think, as well. But it is a big worry for a number of people, and Labour MPs, I think, are rightly concerned as well. My view on this is that I think some of the changes are good, but I am deeply concerned about other changes to some of the stuff like PIP and other universal credit stuff as well, which I just don't think is right, and I think some of it needs to be reconsidered as well. So yeah, that's the changes to the welfare there. Some have welcomed it, others are not, and charities are definitely the ones calling it out, especially, and the Resolution Foundation as well is another one as well. Lots to call out, and there's uncomfortableness on the Labour backbench as well about some of these changes.
That's all the latest news on that. Moving on now, Zach. Ukraine. There's been some news from the war in Ukraine at the moment, and also Gaza as well. There has been some news on the geopolitical stage as well. Donald Trump has been having meetings with Volodymyr Zelensky.
Yeah, there's a mixed picture in the world stage. So let's start off with Europe and the Russia-Ukraine war. Donald Trump has spoken to Vladimir Putin this week, which is the first time a US president has spoken to a Russian president for a while. That's saying something about where this is going in all of this as well. So here's what's been agreed so far this week. There's going to be a ceasefire on the targeting of energy infrastructure. That's good. There's going to be other measures as well involving deeper negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. US and Russia, and US and Ukraine as well. And there's talks of other elements in this as well. Vladimir Putin has said, though, that his conditions still remain, that he does not want European peacekeeper troops on the ground, that he doesn't want foreign aid coming in as well, and intelligence just to be stopped sharing. There is going to be a talk on territory. Again, I'm a bit wry about this because the only thing I think they should be willing to give up the Ukraine is Crimea at the worst. I don't think they should be giving up any other territory because otherwise it looks like they've just, this is a incentive for Russia to do more. So there has been some progress in the Ukraine, US, Russia talks in terms of action there. The same can't be said, however, for what's happening in Israel and Gaza. Israel has continued. It's decided to restart the war in Gaza as well. Many children have sadly been killed in a number of Israel airstrikes on Gaza as well after negotiations for phase 2 failed. And now the war has restarted with Israel targeting Hamas elements that has killed a number of the US civilian populations. They've frozen aid coming into Gaza as well, and they've restarted fighting elsewhere. I have to say, I mean, Israel does not come out looking good in this as well. They're also Ben Gvir's old party, who left government, have re-entered the Israeli government as well. The far right, what was it? I think security minister at the time has re-entered the government. I have to say that's not good if you think about it, because the far right basically wanted this war to continue for as long as possible until they get the destruction of Israel. And I have to say I'm really not impressed with their inclusion back into the government again. Really isn't good at all. So yeah, not great on that front as well. And I just have to say I feel sorry for those poor souls that have been killed in Gaza. I know there is everything that needs to be done to defeat Hamas needs to be done, but taking innocent civilians with you is just not the way, and not allowing aid in as well is deeply, deeply disappointing as well. And Israel must and can do better, I'm afraid. Hamas are terrorists and they should be wiped out, but Israel must be better than what they have been over the last few years as well in this war and how the way they conduct it.
And it's not just that that's going on. I also found out this week, Zach, as well, that Turkey, their opposition leader has been arrested.
Yeah, the Turkish opposition leader has been arrested on charges of corruption, apparently. Now, he is a very popular mayor, the Turkish opposition leader. He's the mayor of Istanbul. He's a very popular figure. And actually, if you think about it, he has been leading President Erdogan in some of the polls. And this is going to look very, very as much as an interference in as Erdogan trying to get his rivals arrested and everything like that as well. But there he is, that he pronounce this, Erkim Imamoglu, the Turk. I have to say, it's complete and utter nonsense to see him. I don't know why. I can't. I think it's just a load of nonsense. I think this is also a political arrest of a popular opposition figure as well. But do you know what? I have to say, he went to jail and he came out a hero. He might come out the same if he does get charged as well. He was due to be selected as the opposition candidate, I think, for the general election. So, yeah, this is really a very worrying arrest of a political rival to President Erdogan.
So that's all the latest news on that one. And there as well, we apologise for the microphone issue. Anyway, we're going to go on to do the next song. We're going to go into a musical interlude now. And this one, I think, will certainly be an interesting song. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play a song that I think has got a lot of characteristics. And I'm going to throw in some rap this week. Rap, vocal, lives, whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the stage once again. This is Stormzy. And I'm going to play a song by Stormzy that I think you might find interesting. So with Ed Sheeran, this is Take Me Back to London. We'll see you in a few minutes' time.
Jet plane headed up to the sky. Spread wings and the clouds getting high. We ain't a rave in a while. So take me back to London. Yo, I do deals but I never get twanged. Booze that ain't never been planned. No booze that were never in gangs. Where I'm from, chat shit get ganged. Where I'm from, chat shit, then the 12 gauge drip. Yes, how it fits in my hand. I don't mix with the glitz and the glam. All these stupid pricks on the gram. I don't do online beef or multi grand beef. I'm way too G'd up to beef for grand beef. I put an APs to help me time keep my shooter rag. You can use when I speak my shooter rag. Shoot a guy. Need to wear like a sleeper dive. More younger than and now we're unified. South London boys get you crucified. It's that time, Big Mike can tell your own grime. I wanna try new things, they just want me to sing because nobody thinks I write rhymes. And now I'm back in the biz of my guy. Give me a packet of crisps and my pine. I hit my friends up, go straight to the pub cause I haven't been home in time. Yes, but that's my fault. Gross $500 million on the Vital. Yes, I ain't kidding with what I lie for. But now I'm back in the track with Big Michael. He said to me, never get off your high horse and never let him take your crown. I've been away for a while, traveled a million miles, but I'm headed back to London town right now. Jet plane headed up to the sky. Spread wings and the clouds getting high. We ain't a rave in a while. So take me back to London. Bass high, middle night, sitting low. Sweat the crowd, dripping down when in the room. No town, but they quiet like my home. So take me back to London. Yo. When I squeeze off this little pen on mine, drop the remix, now I got that on grime. And this ain't like any top 10 of mine. I arrived at Wembley ahead of time. And that stadiums, man of aliens. I drink Supermore and vibranium. I got RM11 titanium. And I rock a 597 no daily, but I want soul, I want flows. Don't need tags ripping off my clothes. Don't need bricks blowing up my phone. Intensive, that's just the way things go. It's just the way things go, amazing flows. Grand old rap and I gave them both. Took this sound that was made in bone with global man on a piece of 2015 in the batting and pop, but close stones 2 years. You'll be wrapping it up and you'll go through tears with the people you love. But when you get to the top, man, it's never enough. Cause you can win Brits, it don't stop. And you can do that so headline stop. But when you're miles away and you're feeling alone, gotta remember that there ain't no place like home. Jet plane headed up to the sky. Spread wings and the clouds getting high. We ain't a rave in a while. So take me back to London. Bass high, middle night, sitting low. Sweat the crowd, dripping down when in the room. No town, that ain't quite like my home. So take me back to London. So take me back to London.
That was there. Ed Sheeran and Stormzy with a unique mix of grime meeting with Poppins in a way. Take me back to London. Zach, what do you make to this interesting collaboration.
that was it's one of the part of the Ed Sheeran's #6 collaboration album, which is sort of like a not one of his usual albums, sort of a mixtape album full of collaborations that he's done, doing different types of music that he's sort of created rather than his usual guitar and everything like that. He did these pop hits as well, and he teamed up with Stormzy on this one, and it got pop when it became his next single. It became popular. He also did a remix of this, I think, with Suspiro, and then he included RD as well in that remix, and I think he included a few others in that remix as well. So he did a remix with Spyro, and then he also did that just as well as that one as well. So yeah, he included JK and H in his remix as well, featuring Stormzy, not RD. Apologies for that one, but yeah, that became quite popular actually. And yeah, it was a bit of a hit at the time. So yeah, very good song.
Yes, so that's that done now. And anyway, we're going to move on now and talk on Conversation Street about a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to talk about this guy here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about rappers this week. And this person I'm going to be talking about this week is Professor Green. Now, you might have seen him, to any of you guys, you might have seen him as a celebrity or he was on Rich and Easy's Who We Are Now podcast the other week. But in a way, you also might have seen him on DJ AG's live stream the other week outside a McDonald's in King's Cross in London. But Professor Green's career goes a lot further than that. In fact, this is the career of Professor Green. He was Stephen Paul Mandelson, who is better known by his stage name Professor Green or simply Pro Green, as an English rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, television personality, and a mental health activist from London. He grew up on a council estate in Clapton in East London. Green went to become the first multi-platinum artist with 3.5 million combined sales in the UK. He's the former co-host of a show, you might have known the show called Lip Sync Battle UK on Channel 5. I think Comedy Central used to air that out in the States, I think, where celebrities used to lip sync certain songs. He actually co-hosted that show. He also biography featured on the Times bestseller, and he's supporter of the suicide prevention charity Calm as well. Mandelson's mother gave birth to him when he was just 16 years old, split him with the boy's father shortly after at 6 weeks old. He required pulmonary operation to keep his stomach. Mandelson was raised by his grandmother as well. He sold cannabis as a youngster and smoked it on a daily basis, 1624. Though he was a bright student and dreamed being a lover, nor he suffered from depression and loss of his parents. And he left Stoke Newington School in Kosovo without any qualifications. When he was 24, his father died with suicide. Green went on to identify corpse in the morgue. He stopped using any drugs, and from that point, to allow himself to process the death fully. Oh my God, it's horrible. To be brought up, to have a very difficult early part of your life with all the family issues must have been very tough. But anyway, his early beginnings, he released his first mixtape, Lecture 1. He won with the inaugural Jump Off My Space £50,000 rap tournament. After touring with Lily Allen, Green released his debut album, Alive Till I'm Dead. His first ever pop single, I Need You Tonight, peaked at number 3 on the UK singles charts. He also then featured on songs with Lily Allen as well. Just Be Good to the Green. He also done At Your Convenience with Zane Lowe. He also done I Read All About You with Emily, guest vocalist Emily Sandé, Growing Up in Public, Matters of the Heart as well. In August 2021, Green was signed to worldwide artist service deal, British independent record label Cooking Vinyl as well. He also has political views as well. He endorsed the Labour Party at the general election as well. Zach, this Professor Green has had a very interesting career, not just in music, but as a celebrity and also activist as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's had a very interesting career, Professor Green. Once a hit maker, now just an activist and just someone who just goes around presenting shows. And as well, he's a mental health activist. He used to co-host Sick Battle UK as well. He supports the suicide charity Calm as well. And yeah, he's had a bit of a very mixed personal life in many ways as well. He had a paramoxy operation to his stomach, He was raised by his grandmother and uncles in a bedroom flat on the wharf in Clapton, Hackney. As well, he sold cannabis and smoked on a daily basis between 16 and 24. He suffered from depression around, and then he had the horrible moment where his father died by suicide. And he identified the corpse in the morgue, and then from that point he stopped using drugs. To process the death fully, and then he made music as well. He started making music as well. He won a £50,000 rap battle in 2008 as well. And then he started making albums, songs as well that made it peaked at number 2 in the as well, including Monster. He then joined Lily Allen as well out there, which supporting Muse. He released his second album in 2011 as well. And then he's been I mean, he's a really lovely lad. He is. I mean, he's gone through some hard times. I know what the pain feels like at points, but he's done well for what he's gone through as well. And he's been a very talented artist and an advocate for suicide prevention as well. Obviously, taking inspiration from the unfortunate events that his dad had as well, and that's a very, very, very difficult upbringing that he's had in there. And he's made the most out of it. He has, using donating to charity, making music, and creating some good songs.
I'm just happy, he overcome his drug addiction. And, a drug addiction's killed many music artists around the world. Michael Jackson, George Michael, Whitney Houston, Prince. Some people that unfortunately died through drug-related issues and mental health issues and stuff. I'm glad that he overcome it because, it takes a lot, especially, when you've lost family members very young. It must have been very challenging for him, but he's overcome that, and Professor Green still lives on to this day. He's only 41 years old. He's a lot younger than my parents. And, trust me, he's going to be a huge advocate going forward for mental health. And, check that podcast out with him, with Richard and Izzy Hammond, called Who We Are Now. The episode was released on Spotify a couple of weeks ago. And I think it's certainly an episode you want to watch because he delves a lot deeper into his past and also reveals about how life was like growing up as well. Because he opens up on a lot of stuff, trust me. It's a very emotional interview, I think. It's a great podcast, Who We Are Now. I recommend it completely for you guys to watch. Moving on now to the final part of the show. I just want to talk about this, Zach, now. I'm going to talk about the M25 to finish my show off with. Now, this is something that's been going on for a while now. If you're travelling this weekend to Surrey, I would like to explain what this is. Now, there has been a multi-million-pound investment into repairing bridge works down in Surrey on the M25. Now, in question, if you're watching the Tonight Show podcast on YouTube, me and Zach tonight, I just want to quickly mention this. Now, drivers have been urged to avoid the area at Junction 10 unless it's absolutely necessary to travel. So if their journey is absolutely necessary, this is when you should travel. Now, the final weekend closure is delayed part of the delayed £317 million project to improve one of the motorway's most dangerous junctions begins on Friday. The motorway will be closed from junctions 10 and 11 in Surrey from 9 p.m. on Friday till 5:30 a.m. on Monday to allow National Highways to demolish and remove a bridge which is no longer needed. Diversion routes on A roads, I think the A3 is one of them, will be in place. According to this, the National Highway Senior Project Manager Jonathan Wade said, "We are now on the home straight. Drivers have been urged to avoid the area and absolute necessary. Among the weekend closure, it will affect many of those travelling to and from between UK's busiest airports, Heathrow and Gatwick, as well as football fans attending England and Albania at Wembley. This started with the fifth and final closure of the project, which started in summer 2022 or 2022. There's a tweet there from the Surrey County Council, which explain the closures for the road as well. So what do you make to this? Because this is going to have huge implications to, people's travel plans this weekend, particularly with, sporting action happening, and also those who are going to be making trips to the airport this weekend. You're probably going away.
Yeah, this is a project that's been in the making for, as you mentioned, 2 to 3 years as well. But they're making upgrades to Junction 10, and they made a lot of roadworks as well. And this is the weekend they're going to finally make the final touches to it as well. Drivers are actually going to avoid to urge the area unless necessary because of delays. They're going to be shutting the road and delaying parts of it as well. So yeah, the M25 is complete pain at times, and it's going to get painful if you're doing it overnight as well. I mean, thankfully it's to be not overnight, so it's not good. They're not doing it in peak traffic, but nevertheless, as well, there will be some interruption, and please avoid it if possible. Try and find alternative routes during the night if you can, traveling that area so that you don't get caught up in the worst of the traffic as well. So yeah, keep an eye out on that. And yeah, the other roads will probably be busy as well. But yeah, important works that need to be completed, but it's also going to cause a lot of disruption to the roads as well.
It's going to be very busy. Please keep an eye if you're travelling on the radio. Surrey radio stations across the UK. Just keep an eye on the M25. It's a road that always has problems with traffic. So let me know in the comments about that one. Anyway, guys, that's it for the Tonight Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching. And that's it. Thank you for watching the podcast night, me and Zach. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next time for another edition of the show. Take care and good night.